I've seen favoritism. You can't, it's human nature. If you put a cop in charge of a public safety department, they're going to lean towards cops. We are all going to have, 2030 edition tasers before they're issued. If you put a fire department guy out there, we're going to have shiny new trucks before they're even built. It's human nature. But then they calm me down. They're like, no, separate budgets managed by the departments. I'm like, okay, that's what I want to hear. Do what? Well, I know, but I know how games work. So, no, I don't know if it's going to help, honestly, but I definitely think getting a more refined message out
I
there.
think it's a more thoughtful process than just slam bam, here's the presentation, agree to it. Let's just process it.
I'm always a little nervous about urgency.
The terminology that, I would use in, Dennis can agree or disagree, but it's a consolidation of administrative functions,
It's called administrative consolidation, and the next one is the functional consolidation, and that can be slower or faster based on council's wishes. You all don't have control of that, but that will still give you the council, it gives you time to work through these issues before you go to that next phase of this kind of project.
And if, Mr. Palin, we were talking offline before during the recess, just for a quick, something that we can, shoot off the hip, he had addressed a question of his green easement, right, behind your house? Green easement behind his house, that's not been addressed for years. Just real quick, I gave him a plan that we can start to work with, which is, as a director of public safety, I'll have more ability to do that. But right now, I'm just on the police side. But the plan I told him was this. You identify his green easement as one that we can tackle right now. We have a guy for that. We have a fuels mitigation guy that does that. That's what he went to school for. He's going to school for. That's what he'll specialize in. He identifies we can address Mr. Palin's green easement, and we need to. So we go out there and we look and say, okay, this is going to take this much equipment. Okay, do we have that equipment, or how do we get it? Okay, we have to get it. We don't have it. How much is that going to cost us? Do we have the money to get that equipment? Okay, so step by step, do we have the money to get that equipment? Yes. Okay, let's do it. If not, no, come to you guys, get that equipment. Next part of that step would be, okay, this is a community about neighbors helping neighbors, correct? That's what we do. We volunteer and we neighbors help neighbors. Get the community to say, on the third Saturday of next month, we're going to address Mr. Palin's green easement from this time to this time. Come volunteer and help. Get that green easement clear, and we move on to the next one and attack it with the same thing.
Well,
I wanted a plan.
It's not Dr. Palin's easement, it's
Right,
the city's easement.
Right, the city's easement. I just refer to it as yours. But
And we
I
need
mean,
a
that's
city,
how
and we need a
fast.
citywide plan, which we're hoping to get from
Right.
the
But you
mitigations person.
You asked for a plan, and that I came up with that just in a short period of
I
time.
understand.
I wonder,
We need a citywide.
wonder if it would be useful to have on our agenda, maybe next time, maybe the time after, the formation of a volunteer corps to help address with chainsaws and whatever is necessary, this fire mitigation deal.
I'm hoping that that's part of this new person's plan. And so I'm waiting to.
Well, excuse me,
Plan first. Okay.
excuse me, but I heard two different things, one from the fire chief and one from the police chief. One said, no, we can't, it's too risky and too dangerous to have locals with chainsaws in the woods. The police chief, on the other hand, said we should have a volunteer group.
That's
Which
why we
is
need a
it?
plan.
We need a plan, yeah.
And to expand on that, that is correct. We did say that. The thing is that's where we would seek legal input on what our city's risk and liability is.
Yep.
And I explained to Mr.
Yes.
Palin, how environmental events work that or is in my wife's dad's name, how that works for cities cleaning up things and using specialized equipment and things like that. And I'm pretty sure it can be done the same way, but we would seek legal guidance from Neil during that,
And one other thing is that this program is going to require access to additional equipment that does impact the budget. So if this is not a program that's funded, then I have to adjust the plan accordingly and to do what we can do. So they do work hand in hand. It's not something that But I definitely know that BJ needs certain resources in order to facilitate what these guys are doing. But long story short is, I think the plan's there, the plan is outlined.
Okay, I'm
I
going
don't
to
have
call a
enough-
spade, excuse me. The equipment that you have already put in the budget is wonderful, but it will not address these easements. And these easements are huge in this city. And we don't have enough paid people to clean them out.
Yeah.
And it has to be done by people on foot with chainsaws.
I'm not arguing that point. If you'll stop by the office and I'll share with you what we have, but some of that's dependent on the funding source. Because I tell you right now, without a way to get some equipment back there and you're dragging the stuff by hand over to a different location, it's going to be a slow process. If that's the approach we take, so be it. But there's other ways that can go faster. Don't have to take my word for it. Take BJ's word for it. Go out and look at what we're talking about. Stop by the office and I'll share that with you, because I think it's important for situational awareness that there is a comprehensive plan that's being developed, but there is a fiscal impact that has to be addressed as well. If not, then I'll tailor it to a different approach.
Two things. One, you're not giving adequate weight to the fact that machines cannot access some of these places. And two, we don't have the personnel to handle the whole city.
Volunteers is a part of the plan. In fact, I was talking to these guys about that, I don't remember, the last couple of days, that volunteers, and not just volunteers, but also training, like the Forestry Service coming in and doing training in those areas where they are experts at what they do. They bring their equipment, they get training, and we get the benefit of clearing those easements.
It
Lots of different things.
also isn't, there's no need for equipment because volunteers will
Okay,
have their
okay.
own equipment.
We're spiraling down on easements right now. We need to get back on the budget.
Yeah.
Um,
I really appreciate you guys' presentations, and I've learned a lot, and I think I understand better what you're trying to do. It's more of an evolution rather than a complete change in our public safety. And I love you getting the information out to however you do it, Facebook, city, on the plan so our residents can see it. And I like Sam's approach of let's put it on the agenda, an executive session on the 15th, and let's carry on a conversation. We do need to approve the budget on the 23rd, so we need to move forward.
What does it take to get a approval for volunteer group to assist with this? What is
We
it?
need to, legal would have to weigh in. What we need is because it is city property, and there is a TML insurance associated with that. What we would end up doing is getting them waivers that they would have to sign, and that's something legal will help us develop. You may already have one here. I may not be aware of it. I'm not aware of it, but
Does it need to have a council resolution at some point?
not necessarily, no. If you have someone, but we should have a waiver, though. Good point.
Yeah.
We should have that right now, so we are protecting our interest in all that.
Sure.
For other things that we're doing right now. So, yeah, I agree.
We agree.
Okay, Dorothy, let's pick up back with you again. What other items do you wish to address this evening? Of course you do.
Oh my, thank you.
So, well, Dorothy's handing out. I just wanted
Go
to
ahead,
say,
Roxanne.
I really appreciate the book, and I appreciate the fact that you had employee staffing for each department. It was easy to see, and I went through the budget several times, and I thought, I think I understand most of this. And so that was, I haven't had that before. I appreciate how you did the overview, and then we did the dig down. It was well done, so thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
So I did this for me mostly, but I have this divided into two different things, hopefully to expedite our workshops. I have some informational requests that I have given to the city manager, which I'm not going to go over right now. He's aware of them, and hopefully we can have them in time. So the things I think we need to decide on this budget, definitely consolidation, but number one is fees versus taxes. So we need to talk about whether we want to implement, this would be a brand-new residential fee that we haven't had before, and it would require a policy to charge our water customers for debris cleanup versus other alternatives. The new franchise fees, I think that discussion will go quickly. 5% of water and marina to help pay for roads, which they use, which Encore and Waste Management are already doing. Again, it's a policy change. It will need discussion and approval. Road improvements of 550, which it's 450 one place, 100 another place. They're different things. One's according to the plan, and one is BJ's department. Can we stage that? Can we wait till we get the RFP and do a budget adjustment on a piece of it? Do we have to put it all in the budget right now when we don't even know the amount and we can manage that amount? It's $550,000 of our taxes that we are putting into roads. Just, we need to talk about it. There are contingencies, Dennis addressed them, of $200,000 in the city manager budget. Do we need to put contingencies in the budget? I know there will be things that come up, and that's what budget amendments are for. So when things come up that are emergency, I say we handle future uncertainties in the future. I am trying to weigh a fixed fee to our residents of $60,000 a year versus what are the expenses in the budget that maybe are discretionary. We have outside consultants for 210. I have compensation issues. I did a quick spreadsheet, which I brought for everybody, but in 22, we were at 1.7 million in overall compensation in the general fund. In 26, and I've already given the schedule to Dennis, in 26, we're budgeting 2.7 million. We have $1 million increase in compensation. Now that includes salaries, it includes benefits, it includes everything. That's a big jump, so we need to be cautious of that and aware of it. Nowhere is that in this budget information. I actually had to create a sheet. I'll share it when we get there. We don't know our fund balances. That's a big uncertainty. The audits will help, but we don't know them now. And what other revenue opportunities do we have for this city? We can have transaction fees. Matt's gone, but how about house watch? I'm out of town. I ask the police to watch my house. I'll pay $10 a week. What about the business checks we do every night? Will businesses pay $1 a day? Will they pay $30 a month to have the police come by and check their businesses? What about the debris dumpster that gets dropped off by your house and you can fill up? How about a $20 dumpster fee for drop off and pickup? And then, more and more. I don't even know what they are yet. But rather than a blanket fee charged to a community that is a piece of our property owners, can we come up with fee for transactions? I know we need to go to fees. There is no doubt about it. Is this the year? I don't want to implement a brand new residential fee, and we can talk about that when it comes up. This is just really for maybe some talking points that we can maybe stay focused on getting this budget approved. Unless you guys have something else.
I was just going to make a comment on the fee that we did have, the maintenance fee that went out. Well, they just sent it out to you. And when I moved here, they said, yeah, and most people don't even bother to pay it. And they didn't do any reinforcement of it. So, of course, that didn't work, But this plan is actually getting it to, it's right on your water bill. And so it will be.
Yeah, so what if I decide
So
that
let
I don't like the fee, just like I didn't like maintenance fee? And I'm not going to pay the $5. I'm going to pay my water bill. But I'm not going to pay the $5. You can't shut my water off. I paid my water bill. I mean, it's not, you can do that on anything that you want that is a discretionary fee. I hear you loud and clear. The other thing was on the maintenance fees, that was very poorly administered. It
Yes,
wasn't
yes. That's what
necessarily
I was saying.
that the residents
Right.
did not want to pay it.
I paid mine, but
I
they
know,
told me you don't even
because
have
we
to file.
had complete lien rights, that if you didn't, it was in your title of your property, that if you didn't pay those maintenance fees, then we could put a lien on your property. And it didn't get administered by our staff at the time. It fell through the cracks.
I didn't find out until tonight the reason why we were not being charged maintenance fees anymore. That's how good our communication is.
Okay, So where do you guys want to start? Let's eat this.
Well, I was thinking about looking at some of those fees. One of the things, it's way more administration if you do a fee per option. And if I look at the city, and we're looking at long-term continuity, where we don't just spend it for this one year and next year we don't, I really feel like the fees may be everybody is affected by our overbrush area here. And so I really feel like those fees may be a good choice for them. I also think that we could maybe set up a fund at City Hall where there's people who can't afford their water bill. There's people who can't, and when you looked at the difference between the increase in tax rate versus, that was bringing in 85,000. These fees are a total of 125,000, I think. And so when I look at that, I'm thinking we're talking $12 difference from the one way there versus the other way. And this kind of seals us if the Texas state government does start limiting what we can tax on. So I don't
Then
know.
we can do fees when that happens.
Yeah, we could.
Is
But
this
if people
year?
are used to it, I think they would be better with that than us raising taxes. So, because
I'm
the
not
other,
suggesting raising taxes. I'm
Okay.
suggesting alternative revenue methods. So let's stick with,
Okay, let's talk alternative revenue methods. Bruce is going to hate me for this, and Stephen may also. I keep a boat in the marina. Our fees are literally half what the other marinas charge.
okay,
We
we're
have-
talking about the general fund right now. So we can talk about water fund and marina fund.
Okay, general fund. How about all those trailers that
That's
apparently were
marina.
promised? That's not marina. That's on city property.
Okay,
Nobody's paying a dime for those.
okay.
And they just sit there. And we don't even know if they're all marina people that are paying marina fees.
Okay.
Nobody does an audit.
so if we did, I guess the one thing I feel with the revenue fees, I'm going to address the fees yet a minute, but the quarterly cleanup, I know we've had that for a long, long time, but we started paying for monthly bulk pickup, and we have laid stuff out on our driveway, including a fireplace that we took out, and they picked it up. I mean, and so maybe it's a time to just say, we don't want that fee. Let's go ahead and stop quarterly cleanup, but then we have to train the residents to look at their waste management and find out what day of the month they're coming. They come out monthly and they
Right.
pick up big stuff.
Well,
So that-
practically speaking, are we going to even allow residents to go to quarterly cleanup? Is that still going on, quarterly
We
cleanup?
can't go into the dump, yeah.
Can we, okay, can
It
we
still is.
encourage that and charge a fee?
Well,
Quarterly cleanup.
that'd be one thing. But then the other thing is when you look at the brush, it's like, okay, so then you're going to charge the people who go forward and take care of their own stuff. But everybody in the city is affected by this fire risk.
Absolutely.
And so we are more than happy. We donated $500 a year because we use the bins a lot. And so that part is fine. But it doesn't really cover everybody's at risk. So
Yes, depending on where you live, you may have only one exit from this community if a fire starts.
have one,
No, it's our biggest issue, I think.
yes.
But how do we fund it is the question.
Right.
There's no doubt we've already approved this. We've already put it in the plan. It's the most highest priority. Now we're on a funding issue.
So how
do
can-
we cut expenses? Do
So-
we increase other revenue options?
Well, I have to disagree
Oh,
in
okay.
that I don't think the plan that we've been given is complete at all.
We haven't been given a plan yet. It's
Well,
in
you just-
our work plan that it's a priority for the city. I
Yes.
agree with you. We don't, like Jimbo said, he's only been here a week. So we need a plan and we'll get a plan.
Okay, so
And-
so I'm going to go with you on this. So if we have 4,000, how many meters do we have?
2,000's in the budget.
Okay, 2,000 meters in the budget. That's 8,000 a month for brush cleanup. So where could we come up with 8,000 a month if we didn't put it in the fee? That's what,
I'd take it out of expenses.
okay. tell me.
I'd take some out of roads, take 50,000 out of roads, and I would take 70 out of the 200,000 contingency, and that gets me the 120 that will subsidize the fees. 50 out of roads, 70 out of 200,000 contingencies. You still have 130,000 contingencies, and we still have 500,000 for roads.
And that would
we
allow
don't
us
have- Correct,
to have no fees.
correct.
And
no
keep the
property
tax rate at the
correct.
same.
Yes.
The only
That's what the
thing-
residents want.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, because I've done the numbers. Okay, Mary's
Well-
nodding yes.
The contingency fund in the city managers would first and foremost go towards, if the budget is approved as proposed, that would go towards the roads if there's a deficiency. Or you scale back the scope of work, you can always do that as well in the roads. But again, there's a trade-off. That means that that will deteriorate that much more, cost you more in the future than it will
I'd
today.
love to spend $1 million on roads,
Yeah.
because we're
Well,
so
if we
far
cut-
behind.
I
Got that.
know, so
The-
then why, cutting roads does not seem like a good plan, because we're gonna lose our continuity that we're starting to
No, we
set up.
won't. We're not going to cut them to zero. We're going to cut them from 550, which we had 450 this year. We're going to cut them from 550 to 500. We
Okay,
still have $500,000 in roads.
Actually, no, you don't, because those dollars that you're talking about for road maintenance and the public works is to fill the stuff that's nothing even related, that deals with,
Still roads, in my opinion.
Okay,
My big picture, I know it's a bucket over here versus a bucket over here, but when you look at the money that we're spending on roads as a city, it's in the budget at 550. Whether you call it the road improvement plan or filling potholes. The question is, can we get by with $500,000, which is still significantly
Bad
more than
roads
we've
are
done.
survivable. A fire is not.
Right. And a contingency plan can be handled when the contingency comes up. You have a very reasonable council. And when issues come up, you come to council you with a budget amendment. You say, this is what I need.
I agree.
I think one of the things, if I can chime in from up here, one of the things that I would consider, and I think Dennis and I mentioned this briefly today in the office. I think it's back up in there. And Dorothy, you mentioned it, quarterly cleanup.
Yeah.
Roxanne, you mentioned it as well. It's definitely a perk for our city. But one of the things that we talked about with quarterly cleanup is it costs money to do it. What do we have, about 25K
about
a year?
25,000 a year.
I know our residents love it. I love it. I use it.
You'll pay for it.
Yeah.
I think the residents will pay for it.
So if we were looking at fees, if it's a pay-as-you-use kind of fee, there would be obviously some concerns as far as, how do we manage the funds coming in there? How do you set the funds? Is it $5 for a trailer? Is it $10 for a truck? Is it every time you come in? I don't know.
As simple as $10 drop off.
If you take your
Or drop
old
off.
washing machine to the Temple dump, they're going to charge you something.
Exactly.
So whether it's a washing machine or whether it's a trailer, if one trailer, it's $10.
You might,
Keep it simple at first. We can get more sophisticated later.
no, but you may run into somebody, if I bring in a trailer and a truckload and someone brings some stuff in the back of their trunk of their car, you're charging them both. I'm just saying from a residential side of the house, that's why at the landfill, they weigh you when you go in, they weigh you when you go out, and you're paying for that. There's no ifs, ands, buts. So just be mindful that may be something that you just push back. But scales cost money, so.
And the resident has to decide whether they're going to wait for their waste management bulk trash pickup 3 weeks from now, or are they going to pay $10? It's the resident's choice. There are options, like Roxanne said.
So the other thing we need to do about the quarterly cleanup is it's for residents.
Right.
We need to check who's coming in there dumping trash.
We do.
And
We do now. We didn't before.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
never checked.
No, well, it's just like the debris, we learned off on the debris program with FEMA site. They were people from around, I caught one myself. I was driving out, and it was a big old load of brush coming in. There's only, once you cross that bridge coming in, you know where they're heading. And so I followed them all the way into the pit and confronted them and chased them out. I said, no, you don't belong here. But the thing of it is, the same thing was happening with so we started putting a person out there to check, make sure that they were residents of the.
So if we go to a fee on that, which I'm all good with that, for the quarterly cleanup, you come in to dump, we'll set a rate that, a trunk load is $5, a pickup load is $10, whatever it is, right? But that's for residents. Then if you're not a resident, it's gonna be this amount. Now, if you go to the city of Temple landfill and you have your water bill with you, you get to dump your trash. Okay? If you're not a resident, you pay. So there's nothing wrong with having a different fee structure for non-residents versus residents.
It's a revenue opportunity, and, you know, I think that's for the budget discussion. We can work out what the fee looks like and the tier structure, and then how bills get scanned. You know, how do we get that? Does the person pay with the credit card? Does the person pay with cash? I mean, we can work out all those details. But for now, it's alternatives to, for me, it's alternatives to fees of the $60 fee to our water meter customers. And I also don't like it because all these property owners that have undeveloped land are a huge part of the contribution to our wildfire risk. And they're paying nothing for this debris cleanup. So I would want it to be, if we're gonna charge a debris cleanup fee, then I would like it to be on all property owners. I think we're targeting the wrong audience for this fee. We're asking the water customers to pay for general fund expense. And they're only a piece of the population that's benefiting.
Well, and the condos are very upset with it too.
And they should be. I mean, it's like, people can understand when they pay a fee and they get something. People that just pay fees and they're going, I don't even use that. Why are you charging me? They don't understand that. That does not compute.
Well, if we did decide to go with the fees, I think it would be wise of us to decrease the fee for the condos. Not every unit would get charged. It would be more like, you know, you do three charges for that unit, for the whole.
The 1 meter, yeah.
Yeah, I know. So that's 100 people probably between the edge and,
Yeah,
so then you're reducing the fee anyway.
right.
And then you would get into this negotiation. Do I get a reduced fee?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think it just opens a can of worms to start negotiating individually with people on fees.
Yeah, no, they have to be flat.
I will
The
say
other-
though, the condos, I'm sorry,
The other argument to that on the condos is, okay, you've got 100 people living there and they got 2 meters, 1 meter, whatever it is, right? Is if those persons who own that condo owned a home instead of a condo, they would have a water meter.
Yeah.
So they would pay that $5.
well, and the other thing is condos, they actually do a good job taking care of their properties. So it's not like some of the vacant, the people that have property here that don't touch their property in probably decades.
They do have the same exit from the community if there's a fire.
So as I understand I know this isn't a fee, but the people who own properties here with this wildfire mitigation plan, I think there's something in place where they say, if you have a vacant lot, then this needs to be cleaned up. And so you have 3 options. You can do it yourself, you can hire the city at cost, or you can hire somebody else to do it.
Or if you do nothing, we put a lien on your property.
Put a lien on
But it
your
needs
property.
enforcement.
And we'll have the capacity to go in and mitigate it without having a vendor do it, recover our cost on that lien. And then, of course, you won't get it until, I mean, sometimes that works, they'll pay, and sometimes they'll wait till the land transfers.
That's one of my most basic objections, is that we're concentrating on what we're doing with the properties. And I'm pounding on the subject of easements because that's where the real risk is.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to disagree with you.
And honestly, when you look at it from the outside looking in, I'm sure the city would want the residents to see it as the city cleaned up its own stuff first. And that's your easements, there's the boat trailers that you mentioned. That whole land behind that is all city owned. That's a ton of, and it's more than that. Because if you look at the trailers where they're at, to the right of it, there's some. So I know we had what's called, I can't remember the program now, but anyway, it was basically every property was touched and clean. One of the things we did is we made sure they understood that the city had no exceptions to it, and they did. They ended up touching every property, but it was one of those things that we had, because it cleans a little bit bigger, so we had to do it by zone. And we may have to do that here, but based on FD priorities established, that will tell us where to go. Easement's got to be a part of it. But I do think that it would look better from a civilian looking in or a resident looking back at the city saying you're taking care of your stuff. And the easements are the biggest thing, and city-owned property, it's on the back of those trailers, all through that, and there's other areas in town that we own, that that's a good place to start.
Yes, it is.
I'm shivering.
Yeah, I know, we can turn it up.
Oh, too cold?
So maybe when we get back
Oh, I thought
together
you
on
were
the
so
15th,
excited.
we can each come with our list of revenue opportunities and try to put an estimate to it, even though, or maybe just come with the opportunities and we'll get Mary to help us determine the estimates. But there is a way, I think, to balance this budget with keeping our tax rates flat, not having these fixed fees to our water meter customers. Oh, we haven't talked about the new franchise fees.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up when you were finished.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, are we finished talking about the,
Well, I think we need to come with more.
Rush
revenue
fees? Okay,
opportunities,
okay.
And I'm just asking everybody to bring some next time. And then, because we've got some ideas and we can stew on it for a week. Yeah.
okay. Well, with the franchise fees, I think we're looking to do, we're trying to make budgets that will help to keep us continuity from year to year. And having a franchise fee that automatically goes for, our infrastructure, or whether it's our waters or our roads, but it automatically goes into there. I think it's a good idea. I think it kind of, because these enterprise funds they are bringing in revenue. And so if they have that revenue and they just have a small percentage of that has to go into the franchise fee.
5%.
It just makes it seems like a good revenue, a good common sense approach. I like,
That doesn't sound very, very big.
no,
You said Colleen has 9%?
Yeah, they do.
Well, and I think it's about 150 between the water fund and the marina fund.
No, well, yeah, that's probably about right, but then you've got the other franchise fees that's also in this budget
Oh,
been
no,
pulled into it as well.
that's from a third party.
Yeah.
I'm just want to talk about, because that is a given. We're not changing that.
Well, but
We are changing franchise fees, charging them to our enterprise funds. So that's a change to the city.
yeah, and then, but all the funds are being captured for that purpose.
Right.
And that's what we're suggesting. Obviously, it's your all's decision what you want to commit to or not, but.
Yeah, well, it makes sense that a franchise fee would be to pay for the roads. We could designate erroneously that it's going to pay for brush cleanup and wildfire protection. We can decide where we want those franchise fees to go, but I like your approach for roads. And I think the residents will like it too, because it's a visual of the commitment, to the roads that,
here's my revenue idea. Let's do 6%.
well, we charge 5% to third parties. So that may be,
The one thing that's,
probably a word for that, but, keeping it equal
Okay.
is probably fair.
the only thing that's a little bit different, the laws changed on electricity companies. Now they use kilowatt hours as a equation,
Instead of
but
percent.
instead of the percentage, but everybody else uses percentage to my knowledge. So but yeah, I think it's not a bad thing. Other cities have been doing it for decades and decades. So I was surprised we didn't see it here, but I think that will help stabilize that program. Whether you all choose to use it for that or anything else, that's really a decision that you have to
We
make.
used
But
to charge franchise fees to the enterprise funds. Donna told me a while back.
Yeah.
I don't know why we got away from,
Well, when I got here last year, it showed that the franchise fees, they had it listed, but it was actually administrative support.
no, we just started that with Dalton.
Oh, okay.
Administrative reimbursement.
Right, right.
It
So,
used to be, we tried to split everybody,
okay.
like, how much time do you spend on the marina?
Yeah.
And then charge that portion.
Yeah.
But putting everybody in the general fund, we can see our compensation,
Mm-hmm.
and then allocating it out based on this administrative fee.
But they used that as a franchise, at least that was titled, that's where they held it, and it didn't really make sense, but.
No, they're
it's-
two separate.
Yeah, so now
Yeah.
I think we're getting where we need to be on that.
Yeah, and I think the administrative reimbursement fee is another opportunity because it's flat with 25. And if our expenses are really increasing year over year, then the enterprise funds do need to pay. We should have the same methodology of this is how we calculate administrative fees. It's, 50% of this person or whatever it is though, those costs are increasing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what it needs to be is a city council governance policy that says this is what you're looking for, and then the city manager, he or she will develop a policy that supports, that fulfills your all's direction. That's really what most of the stuff that should be going on here is how,
We're being forced to make a decision.
because it's never been done, and so we're
Right.
trying to get
Policy
us
second.
moving. But yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'm just saying, no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I just think there needs to be formalized in a way that's sustainable.
And I don't know, I don't want to add any workload, but can you come to the meeting on the 15th with the calculation of what an administrative reimbursement fee would be based on the increased costs in '26?
You already have it for this one here.
We should have the calculation for
Well, he basically-
'25.
It was based off of, from my understanding, it was based off the number of employees. There was a ratio that was developed from it. The auditors are not going to get caught up on, they may not agree with it, but sometimes it's like, oh, you're going too far with that one. It does need to stand the test of time when it comes to auditing. So I would suggest, I'm not
You
sure.
should use the same methodology.
True, but it should be formalized to where, memorialized, where they know that this is a city of Morgan's Point policy. We have one in every other cities. That's what they use for operation.
Policy. I'm talking about coming with numbers. It would increase revenue to the general fund, and it would be nice to have that number on the 15th. That administrative fees, moving up with our increased costs, it's going to bring in another $10,000, $15,000.
Well,
I don't know what it is.
But my comment was, it's been based off employees. I don't know, give us a chance. I don't know if we can bring it, we'll bring it. But that's the ratio. I'm not sure if it's been written down anywhere.
Yeah, but it was based on something to come up with $240,000 for the water fund. Yeah. So just use '26 budget costs to calculate the new fee. Because it's being held flat, so it's a revenue opportunity. So that would be another number.
One of the things we did talk about in the last year's budget is that we were going to look at the enterprise rates every year.
Right.
You know, and we didn't have a chance to do that this year, and.
No, because I remember when we had FY '26 discussion, a budget discussion a month and a half ago. And the reason I told you all then that I let you know that the way the fund view is capturing revenues is not all right. It was just like I told you tonight, taxes were not going in INS where it should have been. And we got other revenue challenges, just like we did with expenses. So until you really know what you have, I wouldn't recommend, and that's why I said then I would propose a budget, did not recommend raising the rates. Let's see if we can get the revenue and identify it hitting the right accounts. So when you do make that decision, you can say, hey, this is how much we actually did on the raising the water rates, or this is how much we got on the raising the marina rates for the slips. That stuff needs to be for sure identified, and then decide from there what your next rate should be, if there should be a jump in it or not. But right now,
That's one of my information requests that I've asked for is the impact fees. Now, remember, some of these fees we can do mid-year. I mean, if we can look at we can look at the marina rates mid-year if we want.
We did it
It
this-
doesn't
I think
have
we
to
did
be
it.
October 1st.
I think we did it last year.
Yeah,
We have enough
No,
on our
no,
plate
no,
right
but-
now.
no, yeah.
At the risk of beating a dead horse, can somebody here tell me how we can get an audit of the trailers? Who owns them? How many there are on the,
Yeah, I talked to
property.
Ronnie about it, and Ronnie's our source. He has a pretty good idea. I don't know how much PD has. I heard they were involved at one time, but I don't think that's the case. I'll get with Ronnie and ask him.
They were. The police was involved at one point. I
No, I'm
want to
talking
say
about
5 years ago.
recently. I'm talking about recently. I just don't know. So I'm going to have.
we should have a report.
Ronnie.
It hasn't been done in years.
I agree
Wait
with
a minute,
you.
we got some information.
Okay. Okay. And so
Oh my gosh, look at you.
will you ask him
That's
to make sure he
initiative.
forwards us a copy, and we'll get it to council so they can have it. We can send that whenever we get it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, what What else do we want to discuss? So franchise fees, we probably don't need to talk about that again. 5% of revenue for water and marina, and everybody's good with that. It's about 150. You've already got it in the budget, so it's not a change. We'll hold on police and fire. We'll do revenue opportunities at the 15th meeting if we can get that agenda out.
Now, my understanding is that we'll arrive at the tax rate on the 15th. We're not going to change it on the 23rd. We're just going to approve it.
That's correct.
It's
You're
a
going,
public hearing, isn't it?
it's a public hearing, but once the public hearing's concluded and it's adjourned, then the next item is to, an action item is to adopt a preliminary tax rate. So you can go with what's the decision that you all had last, when you said you propose it, the hearing goes through, then you adjourn and you go ahead and adopt it. But it has to be done on that, and that has to be done before you do the actual tax levy for the 23rd. So
So on the 15th, but we can talk about the tax rate tonight if you want
We
to.
can.
Yeah.
I think we should.
So yeah, let's talk about it.
I want to keep it the same.
Yeah, everybody wants to keep it the same.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think Stephen.
But we have to
probably does
find a
too.
way, as she's saying, we have to find a way to get extra revenue so we don't have to raise taxes. So if it's, you know, a use fee, that's the best way, right? The resident
Yeah.
uses some service, they pay a fee for that service. Whether it's, you got the brush bin or
Yeah, that's what's under discussion.
whatever it is,
I
right?
mean, I think we
Quarterly
can
cleanup.
implement that house watch immediately, and business may need 90 days or something, but if you want a house watch, why don't you pay for it?
Yeah, I doubt that'll bring in very much, though. I mean, how
You'd be
many?
surprised. Me alone.
A lot of people use it.
A lot of people use it.
You have in the summertime.
Okay.
What's more in the winter?
See?
More in the fall and winter?
Oh,
27.
okay. Holidays.
7, and what, how much would you charge?
I don't know. I mean, Dennis, can you give us a recommendation?
we always provide it for free, so I can't give, I don't even know what would be. I guess it would be,
I'm thinking $10 a week is what I threw
no.
out.
Well, that would be $60 for 1 month and $270 in another month. It had been, so that's not bad. But one thing for clarification, because of the last meeting, you did propose de minimis rate, which is almost, it's 0.63, whatever. Right. So that's, if that's the highest you can do. So you can set that and you can always adopt a levy later on the 23rd lower, or you can go with what's the budget's built around, which is 0.6253, I think is what it is. So, but just to let you know that, and there's certain ramifications apply to each and how they're handled. But certainly wouldn't recommend you set it higher, because that's going to create all kinds of problems for a second hearing, which is too late to do that.
That's not even on the table.
So, but
It's not. So, if we did a brush bin fee, then every time, how often we need to find out from BJ, how much revenue would that bring in, and how much would we have to charge in order to make?
I'm gonna be honest with you, the revenue that we're talking about here will not bring anywhere near what you need to run the
Right.
program. So
Right, yeah.
but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think, looking at the brush bins and even the pit, for quarterly cleanup, just kind of in my mind, revenue opportunities, but not doing it to really offset the cost of the program as much as just to make that extra money that,
A little extra.
it's like you said, these are services that are being offered to our residents. And I hate to say it this way, but you don't get nothing for free these days. I mean, yeah, we may have done that in the past, but it costs money to do this stuff. And,
And I'd rather do that than gouge our water permit
yeah,
customers that are only a piece of our
Yeah.
community.
If you use it, you pay for it. I mean, I get that. Now, that's not to say that, this other stuff, I get it. If we're trying to go from the de minimis rate to where we're at now, the goal is to figure out how do we get there? Well, we're not going to get that by charging $20 for a brush bin.
No.
We know that.
Well, the
But the
budget.
budget's built on the lower
60
rate.
Yeah, it's on the current rate that you have right now is what the proposed budget is. So you can massage it, you can but you can't, if you're going to add more to it as far as expenditures, you really need to identify that funding source, as I'm sure you're aware of. But no, it's based on the current rates that you have right now.
Right.
So if we keep it based on the current rate, any other revenue coming in is a positive.
Correct.
So keep that in mind.
Except for we're trying to get rid of $120,000 of fees. So that's what we're trying to do. And there is room in the budget in expenses. But revenue opportunities, we should never
Just as a,
overlook revenue.
throw this out, would we consider a $2 fee for brush? Because everybody is affected by the cleanup. Would we consider that? And then, because I don't think.
If it is charged to all property owners, and that's the dilemma. I don't want it charged to our water customers.
Okay,
I just think it's abusive.
I think it would.
And the issue you run into, if they just own a lot, do they even pay it?
They don't.
Yeah, and they won't even if we bill them.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's the enforcement?
right.
You can't shut their water off if it's not on the water bill.
So-
that raises another question.
Well, the good news is that all the properties will have to be looked at, every single one of them. And a lot of these people that live outside this area, that own property that's considered a public safety, because there's a public safety provision that allows us to go in. It would take an ordinance update.
Right.
And a lot of this stuff will hold those property owners that are vacant, or on vacant property. They're gonna have to deal with it. And if they don't, and there is a cost, and they're gonna be paying the market rate unless they want to pay, if you all approve it, the city to come in and do the mitigation. And then there's money coming back, another revenue source to kind of perpetuate more capacity to do stuff at a faster rate.
I'd rather see the city employees work on the easements because it's a bigger
They
problem.
will, and that's what I'm saying, though. We're talking about the property owners that
I
are
know.
not here. Yeah, I agree.
I know you're suggesting that a property owner is required to clean up. If he doesn't, the city will do it for him at cost. And I'm,
Or
right?
you could hire
Talking
somebody.
about prioritizing.
Or they can hire somebody. But
You're
I'm
talking-
saying, why would the city want to do that when the city needs to clean up these easements and they're huge?
That would be, private property would be secondary to the easement.
Right.
So in other words, you clean all your easements first,
Okay,
then you
all
move
right.
it to the.
If that's the,
If we start with the city property, both easements and other areas of city property, and get that stuff taken care of, then the residents, I think, honestly, seeing it from, I had code enforcement and law enforcement, I can tell you what they think. The residents get upset when they can look at the city and say, well, you're not doing anything. This is city-owned property, but you're holding me accountable. I got that. And so I think by doing city-owned property first,
Okay.
that's the focus. But these other guys still need to be notified, still try to get
Sure.
compliance you can get. And,
well, and we don't have to decide tonight, but as a city, we may not offer that service. We may say it has to be cleaned up, or we're gonna hire
Put a
someone.
lien
and
on your
put a lien.
property.
that was my suggestion,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
equipment's gonna be used for the easements and the city property
Right.
first and foremost.
Right.
So I'm just saying that off if that's done and we got it managed control,
Mm-hmm.
or under control, there might be some other opportunities for a revenue source. The equipment can still be utilized.
Yeah.
And that's where you can start looking at some other options.
So if it's a local resident who lives here, then I think as a city, if we would do it for cost would be good. But if it's someone who just owns property and is leaving it, so they can make some money on it later on, I think they need a full rate.
Can you distinguish? I don't know if you can.
Yeah,
And on, there is a way to do it. I just don't remember the exact terminology, but I think that you can, it's gotta be reasonable.
So the Smith family lives here, and you're going to do that for them. But the Brown family is an absentee landlord, and you can distinguish
mostly
between them?
empty property and empty lots. That would be if it's an empty lot, they're not living on it.
That's-
Correct me if
well,
I'm
A
wrong.
lot of empty lots are owned by the guy next door.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to be at it for a while
Yeah,
on city property only. So my guess is that isn't even going to come up for 18 months to like 2 years from now.
good point.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to try to rein us back in here because I got it. Fire. The long and the short is, in order to keep the tax rate flat, we need to cut $125,000 out of the budget. 120. So from what I gather, these are the proposals that are kind of on the table right now. It's 50K coming out of roads, 75 coming out of the discretionary fund, correct? Is that what I'm hearing? With the options to look at later on subsidizing some of those funds back with dumpsters, quarterly cleanups, things like that. So Council, I think the decision is, where's that money going to come from? The 125, the 120. I mean, we can kick ideas around back and forth and left and right, but we have 2 weeks to make a decision. And 1 week, and I'm not trying to put pressure on anybody, but all of these good ideas are just that, they're good ideas.
That's a good summary.
They're not going to get implemented in the next 7 days. So the decision, the tough decision, and we've said this before, that's why we sit in these chairs, is to make the hard decision. Where are we cutting money? And how do we do that? I mean, essentially, that's what it boils down to, is the money's got to come from somewhere.
And I think there is a little piece of the increase in cost for admin reimbursement fees. Because it's flat with last year and our costs have definitely gone up. So I don't know how much it is.
I know that was a shotgun blast, but essentially we're kind of spitballing and good ideaing right now. We're brainstorming and that's great, but we're not going to get where we need to go in the next 7 days with that right now.
But I think
So
directionally, oh, go ahead.
I think we also need to still consider those fees, because even if we don't do the full amount, it's something that we've all said is coming, and if we start out with a small amount, people kind of get used to having the fee.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm-
it's hard to administer, and it's one of the things that has created most of the outrage.
the fees on the water bill.
And I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's equitable.
Yeah,
I would not be happy.
I tend to
I'm
agree
not
with,
happy.
I tend to agree with that, and I know that I'm air quoting here for, I don't know if our camera's still on, for some of the target properties, the overgrown properties that have, that are owned, that don't have a meter, that the owners aren't here, they're investment properties, for lack of a better term. But I asked Dennis, I was like, well, if we institute a fee for those, how do we collect that?
Right.
I don't know. That's the difficult part, because I'm 100% on board with you. I don't like, you guys have all seen it. We've had residents say, I don't use brush pickup. I don't use quarterly cleanup. Okay, I get it. I get that.
I agree with them.
So we have some residents, their yards are immaculate. They have no dead trees. They have no overgrowth. I get it. So how do you punish them for taking care of their yard? Well, some people would see it that way, but I also understand that there's a need to make this happen. So that's where, how do we balance that? I don't know.
And directionally, if the Texas legislature continues to put pressure on our property tax rates, we're gonna have to go to fees, but we don't have to this year. And I honestly don't want to do it on my watch, because I totally disagree with it.
Well, if we get a new website that works well, we can put some of these explanations on there and get the population used to the fact that we're under pressure from the legislature and so on. Right now, they don't know what we're talking about here unless they watch the video.
So I guess kind of what I'm hearing, if I can kind of summarize here, what I'm hearing is maybe guidance for you and the staff is, over the next 7 days, find us $120,000.
We're donated.
They already have. The question is that the direction we want to go, or do we
It's
want
a
to?
council it's your budget. You decide what you want in it. I'm making a recommendation. You don't have to take it. You can massage it. You can turn it around however you want. Just remember what I talked about earlier about opportunity cost and cost versus benefit. I know you all think that this is I know it's not easy. And I know that it could be charged by some of these people feeling like they're being overburdened or what have you. But there's going to be some trade-offs. You ain't going to see them right now. I'm just going to be honest with you. Done this 30 years. I've seen it 30, 40 years now. So I know you're going to see some change. And you're going to say, man, I wish I could have. Well, that day's already passed. So you'll have to make the tough decisions, but that's your budget. You can make your own priorities. You can say, no, Dennis, I disagree with this, and we ought to do this with it. As long as you agree as 3 people that say yes, but you have to have, for budget purposes, you got to have 4, supermajority for tax purposes and for the budget
Well,
process.
we have not spent money on infrastructure. We have not spent money on roads. This council has stepped up significantly on roads. The question is can we, how much is significantly? Is increasing it another $100,000 over last year? Can we just increase it $50,000 over last year instead of, and we'll have to deal with that.
Yeah, because you
We
want
don't
to
even
know.
have the RFP, so
You
we
won't. The
don't even
RFP's
know.
not even in the, it's not even on the radar because
Right.
if you did it right now, the quotes for, it's gonna, that inflation's gonna be built in. That's why you don't do a 3-year contract with a vendor like a road company because they're gonna build those escalating costs in on what they're gonna give you. It's gonna cost you more. So you lose that competitive edge. So that's not even gonna occur until probably, like I said, March, April timeframe to get it let by probably May or June time.
And then by then, we'll have better information on our fund balances, on the audits will all be done, bank reconciliations will be, we'll understand the dynamics of our finances. Right now, we don't have that information.
You've got your funding sources that we have available for the general fund. The other ones, but again, once that dollar's spent, and that's something you all need to be mindful of, I'm sure you are, but I'm just reminding you that once the dollar's chosen and this is what you're gonna do, and this is the revenue we're gonna have, and all these changes that we're talking about tonight, that is it. I mean, you've got what you've got, and you'll have to make it last. And whether these programs are popular because year 2, will they feel like, I'm just using an example, some of the residents may feel they got shortchanged because you took care of the whole year 1 in the first year. Granted, it worked out to our favor as far as a city, but year 2, if that's not enough and those prices go up and we can't do that, and we reduce the scope, that narrative's not good either. So there's trade-offs. I'm not.
Increase from what we've done in the past in this city. We are starting to fix our roads, which in the past we have not.
And they're
So
certainly
let's
appreciative of it.
take a moment there and say, we have a significant commitment here. But do we want to institute a brand new fee to our water customers to just continue to have a $500,000 investment in roads? And I'm not for that right now. I'd like to look at alternatives.
Well, one of the things to think about when we're talking about roads, okay, is, like she said, there hasn't been anything done in years, but there has been last year, right? And we fixed a lot of roads. What, 440,000, something like that, okay? Do we really have to look at spending more than that? If we do another 400, or we do 400,000, there's your 150,000 right
We're going to try to get the best on the RFP and the best negotiated price. There's no doubt about that. This year, it worked out pretty well. That's not a guarantee, and actually, the quote was $100 and some odd $1,000 more. They gave us the year 1 because we put the onus on them to say, you need to reduce the scope to where, and tell us what you can do in that. They said, we'll just do the whole thing. I can't guarantee that every year, and you may not have the same companies bid for it.
I'm just saying it's a place to find money, right?
Right.
It's a place that we can cut.
Roads?
Yes.
That's a decision you all make.
I mean, I know it's a decision we make, but what I'm saying is if we spend 400,000, or I'm just picking a number, 400, 450, that gives us $100,000 off of what's proposed, budgeted, correct? So there's the money that we're looking for right there. Now, if it comes in and the quotes are lower, we can always go higher on that number.
And we'll have better information.
Well-
I mean, I don't know our fund balances.
But you're
I'm
not-
not even sure cash by fund. I just know cash in total for the whole city, but a lot of that cash is not general fund cash.
Feedback, yeah.
But the
So
thing
we'll
of it
have
is,
better information and then we can,
but you're not, well, I would only recommend that if you could always adopt, nothing's going to get moved forward. Nothing's going to get used in contingency fund, the grant contingency fund, or city managers, or even the road maintenance. Well, road maintenance may have some. I'm talking about this thing for public works. But there is no assurance it's going to be lower, and I can guarantee it's probably not. It's that if they've already told us, as in your study that you all adopted, said you're looking at about 613,000 to do year 2. So you don't have the extra money except for, so if you take it out of the one pile and you say we're going to use it over here, that's okay. But just understand that there's a trade-off that's going to occur, and it may backfire on you,
But just dial back how many roads that we're fixing.
as long as you're all careful on this, reducing the
So
scope. you're
next year
good.
might be a totally different budget, might be, we have extra money. What we're dealing with is the reality of now. Well, yeah, nobody does.
Exactly, exactly. And we have to look at it in totality. I mean, we may say that these incremental fees are for debris cleanup, but we can also say, you know, $300,000 of our property taxes are going to debris cleanup. It's just, we create the budget. We have this pool of money, we have money coming in and we have money going out. And Dennis has made an outstanding, and Mary, outstanding proposal for us. But it's up to us to decide on some of the nuances of it. Do we have a game plan for moving forward? NIDA can get us legal for the 15th?
I think so. Dorothy has requested council that, kind of brainstorm over the next week, other possible revenue sources. And that's something else I know has been touched on as well. Just in case anybody happens to still be watching. I know it was touched on as well. And again, these are not going to offset the cost, but it will bring in revenue. Other things that we've talked about, like, marina rates, and how does that factor in? Do we look at a mid-year or even a, first quarter adjustment of marina rates and all those other things? So I think you guys are on the right direction, the collective. I concur with the proposal and the plan that we have to kind of streamline everything and stay as stable as we can makes sense. Absolutely. Go ahead.
And Mayor, I just wanted, since you mentioned the marinas, I think all fees can start being looked at, because we'll have the time what we need to do to get those revenues lined up where there should be. After that, we're planning on bringing a mid-year budget review forward. So that's an opportunity to revisit all of this stuff again. But we need to make sure we get everything lined up in those chart of accounts like it's supposed to. Otherwise, it's all for naught,
Right.
There's no.
I think
And
just,
we'll have better information.
what I'm hearing from you guys is the understanding is that if we, for lack of a better term, pull these funds to keep the tax rate level, do away with the fees initially, because there's nothing that says we can't reinstitute fees middle of the year with the mid-year budget adjustment, is there?
No, but keep in mind, you won't have the funding. The fees it takes time to accumulate the fees to
Right,
put those
right.
fees to use. So
Right.
keep that in mind in the process.
But it sounds like that the general consensus is essentially keep the tax rate where it is. Let's find a way to remove that 120, which we already have, basically, to get rid of those fees. And it's going to, with the understanding that more than likely, and I say this, more than likely, the line item that's going to take the punch in the nose is going to be roads. So just so we're all kind of clear on that, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, and also compensation is an issue, and I've asked for an analysis of compensation. I have a spreadsheet if anybody wants to see it. But we need to understand, it actually increased $550,000 from 24.
No, actually,
That's the number.
I know I know the information is provided, but real quick, just say what you told me earlier.
It said it did. On page 19 of last year's budget proposal, it said it included fringe benefits specifically. And I'm almost positive Carrie did. Because I was, okay. Okay, good.
The communications thing position. So there's two that we actually reduced in the budget. It's not there. In the proposed budget. Now, you all can change that and say, no, we disagree with you. No, but let's see, what have we got? They've
Been replaced.
We got one. No, actually, you filled that today. So do we have any vacancies?
Woo!
None? I know in City Hall,
But Sam, we're really only down one FTE because we added the fire mitigation person. So,
So,
full-time.
full-time, yeah.
no, so to answer your question, I think City Hall has everybody. And the only one,
fire chief. Who is it? The fire chief and an admin person?
Yeah, so the budget
Communications.
has two reduced, but you're asking what the vacancies we have we filled the ones we have? Is that not it?
Just thinking, if our budget went up that much this year, and we didn't add employees.
It's change of compensation.
No, well,
And it's hiring, I hate to say it, but some qualified people to, that come experienced, as opposed to taking a person and trying to turn them into something that they're not. So,
some of the benefits were,
Yeah, they went up 9% on.
yeah, health insurance, yeah. But health insurance is only like 180,000 a year, so 9% would be,
he's gonna try to get that too.
yeah, okay, perfect, okay. So we need to know that because we cannot continue. We need to do roads and we need to have people and we need to understand that trade-off too. I don't want that to just go away. Right.
So
That'll help.
if I'm just kind of recapping for me and see if I'm on the right track, but we are generally approving the budget as presented to us, the amount of monies that we're going to spend. We agree with Fran.
Can I just interrupt? No, I don't want to do that right now. I want Stephen here. We're going to have another budget workshop. So I'm not approving anything right now. We're
seeing if I
just-
was going in the right direction.
Yeah, no, we are just discussing and sharing our ideas to help us get our head around what decisions we want to make. No.
Well, and when you all adopt the rate on the 15th, you'll adopt either the current rate, which is .6253, and so you can do that, and then that's it until you do the levy, which is actually the final one, which is on the 23rd. And then you can go at that number and below, whatever that is, assuming it's 6253.
I don't want to go below.
Well, that just adds fuel to the fire, no pun intended. Yeah.
Likely what we decide in 15 is the number we would use on this.
Yes.
That is, well, most likely, you're right. Could you do it differently? Yes, but odds are you probably won't.
I don't think
No, I think we're there. So it's just a matter of formalizing it
Yeah.
on the 15th and
Yeah.
making sure it's on the agenda so that we can discuss it and have an executive session to talk through some issues that we need to talk through.
Yeah, and so we have workshop 4 to 6, special session 6 o'clock to include an executive session during, probably before we go into any of that, yeah? I'm thinking.
You can do the executive session. There's no action going to be taken formally, so you can actually keep it a part of your workshop.
Part of the workshop.
Do your hearing, get that out of the way, and go right back into the workshop, and then go into executive session. You're not rushed.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, let's do it.
Yes, if Gus is gonna talk to Matt to send it to us, and we'll get it to all council members. You'll get it as soon as I get it. We'll just have Nida send it out to everybody. Yeah.
Right.
I just, well, that's true. Well,
Well, I don't know that we should keep trailers for other people.
it's a revenue source. So I tell you what. When it's cleared out, I don't know what y'all are gonna see that property. You all may say, look, there's some opportunities here.
Right, there are.
Because that area is just cluttered.
Right.
BJ and I went up there and looked at, there's so much of an opportunity there. You may
Yes.
have some opportunity.
It's going to be beautiful.
I don't know. 'Cause it-
Well, because it's a process. We can't just say, we're going to go develop this for a tiny village. No, we've got something there today. We've got to we've got to get rid of what we've got today and really think through if that's the best use of the property.
You can get rid of those trailers though. If you can get rid of those trailers and get that place cleared out, I think that's a diamond in the rough that
I
people
agree.
don't even realize.
It's a
you
new
got.
park.
Yeah.
It's a new park. Yeah. Yeah. And, but we have to have an alternative for the trailers. Because how many are there up there? Well, we'll
Well,
find out.
60% of them, 60% I think are out of towners. So they're not going to leave them on our streets or they'll get towed. So
That's a good point.
Well,
Well,
walked
can we
through and
look
counted
at them
them.
on
It
the,
was
on the
78.
15th?
send them out to us if you would, so we can get it out to council what the numbers are. So, but like we were just talking, that 60% of them don't even live in this city. So those trailers won't be parked anywhere in the city. They'll have to go. And there might be a way to write it, some type of regulation that prohibits, only, maybe if it's using Corps land, you can't make a different rule as it stands. Corps of Engineer land, you can't really, I disagree with certain parts of it, but that's another discussion. But I do think that you can designate spot and only residents to use it, and everybody else will have to take the trailers home.
But can we not say residents? Can we say marina patrons can use it? And you can have one per slip.
But if you charge them, like I said, I paid $30 a month at North Point.
Yeah, well,
So
okay, if you rent a slip from the marina and have a boat in the marina, whether you're a resident or not, you can have one trailer per slip. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to decide the details tonight, but no, for a fee. And then we need to figure out what we're gonna do. I mean, this is a process. I mean, then we've got to get rid of the trailers that don't have boats in the marina, and then, yeah, exactly. We'll take your trailer if you don't get it out of here. We need to give them a time frame. I mean, there needs to be a plan, but 90 days, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah. All I'm saying is we just can't say we're going to use it for that without having a plan to get rid of the others. Okay.
Okay, council, I've got 2036, unless there's anything else pressing. Any questions or concerns about where we're headed? I think we're in.
No, thanks again, Mary and Dennis, for pulling this together. I know it's tough, and you don't have the financial information either, so I know how frustrating that is for you. So really appreciate it. You've given us something, to work with and to discuss. So thank you.
or our
These
knees.
chairs.
Or our knees.
These chairs.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I have us adjourned at 2036.
I know.
I know I got